Hi, everybody. I figured the music was appropriate considering we're in Louisiana, except that we've got, at least there's no more snow on the ground. The snow is gone. I was talking to Isaac about it. I figured he's next door in Mississippi. He probably got it too. And he's like, no, we didn't get snow like that. We got
We
what
didn't
we
get that
normally
much.
get down here, just a little bit of sleet and
Uh-huh.
ice. And, it's like, oh my God. So, and then my son told me today there's another one coming and it's supposed to be worse than this last one, with more snow than the last time. I was like, oh my God, what do we, I can't, my brain won't go there. So, hi, Maureen. Hi, they are Narcissus. And
That's a
hi,
statement.
Rose.
Hi,
Um,
Rose.
I am going to be running out on y'all at exactly a minute or two before 5:30 because I have to be on another show at 5:30 and then another show at 7. So it's literally back to back to back today, except the 7 o'clock one is
They are.
recorded. It won't be live. And the 5:30 one is with Isaac and it's just me backstage. So um helping him out. But because
Wow.
it can get to
Hi,
be a bit
Candace.
much. Hey Candace. And so yeah, we had a good time for the slumber party last night. We went like 2.5 hours last night
Hi, Rose.
with me doing nothing but just one card pulls for people. Um, but we had a lot of fun last night, so that was great. And then I crashed. I mean, I was like a redwood tree hitting the ground, man. I was out for the count. And Judy is much easier. Okay, thank you. They are. I didn't know Judy was your name,
I like
so
they are.
yeah,
I like that. They are.
that's great. So, and then I got back up this morning at like 6:30. I was like, damn it, it's my last day before I have to go back to work. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
worked last week, but we worked from home.
Mm-hmm.
But tomorrow we have to go back to the office. So,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably a good thing because I got a truckload of stuff I need to go take care of and a bunch of packages that are probably sitting and waiting at the post office for us. So,
Wow.
hi, Peace Mama.
Yes. Hello.
Well,
Daisy.
today's topic is communication skills.
Yes.
And now it's Isaac's portion of the show. I'm going to turn it over to him and let him tell us all about it, what to do, how to do,
Uh,
all that fun stuff. And I'm going to shut up
yeah. We have some resources. We also have well, we have a couple of resources, but as I was thinking about it, Sherry, it's like it's different for everybody when you're trying to communicate with somebody because sometimes being a empathic person, we're trying to stop people from getting into a bad space. So we may say things over and over, which tends to, some people say that we're nagging them or it's frustrating. And then you get some people that you need to say things to, and they sort of like avoid you without a lot of conversation. It's a it's I think it's sort of a like a passive aggressive silence that they'll use
Yeah,
so that you can't bring up the subject. The less they say, the less entry points you have. And that can be frustrating.
gotcha.
And then there's
Yeah,
some people who, no matter what you say to them, they're going to blow up. And that's why we use one of the like the communication loop where you sort of like plan out what you're going to say and stick to it and don't say anything different. But it's going to be
right.
different for everybody. But I think the biggest part for me is always trying to use open, honest, and direct communication. This is usually helpful for spiritual people who are empathic because empaths tend not, well, most people say you have to be assertive. And when you say that to an empath, they don't hear, they hear something different. They hear it as being harsh,
Yeah.
but they can tend to hear being open, honest, and direct, because that doesn't seem like you're harming anybody. Both ways, you're trying to get tell the person the truth and get your point across. But the only thing about it is you can choose to share something with someone, but you can't choose how they will respond. But you can choose how you respond. I think that's going to be the big thing. How do I
And
respond to? Go ahead.
I know I've always heard, that one of the many faults that a lot of people have is when someone else is talking to them, they're not really paying attention to what's being said because they're busy trying to formulate what their response is going to be.
Right.
And so it's like messages go sideways of each other
Uh huh.
because
Mm-hmm.
one side isn't really listening to what the other side is saying. They're busy
Mm-hmm.
formulating their argument,
Uh huh.
or
Mm-hmm.
they'll hear a few key points, and so they're busy thinking
Mm-hmm.
up ways of, okay, how do I rebut this, or how do I
Right.
turn it back on them,
Mm-hmm.
not me.
Right.
At least that's
But you
what
know
I've
what?
always read. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
true. But I don't think that's always about trying to get the upper hand. For some people, it's like I have to keep the conversation going, so I need to think about what this person is saying. I need to formulate it, because sometimes with some people that I'm sitting with, I will stop listening, and I know that. And it's like I'll be lost in the conversation. It just depends on the person's personality. And I think
yeah,
a lot of us do this, and some of us probably should do it, but we don't. But it's like there's certain personalities that it's just hard for me to listen to. It's like, especially if
yeah,
the conversation is mm, more superficial, or they never talk about anything of substance. It's like somehow in my mind I just make up that I've stopped listening. I know it's not the best thing to do, but it's sort of a protective thing. It's like, because it's better than me being frustrated by thinking to myself that, oh, you say these things all the time, but they never have any meaning to them. If that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah. Because we're so busy trying to respond to what we think they're saying,
right,
but not necessarily what they're actually saying.
right.
Or else we're interrupting every third or fourth word. And I know I have a horrible habit of doing that. I've been trying to get better at it, but I get excited. When I get excited and I'm talking about something I'm really passionate about,
Right.
then I tend to want to overrun everybody else's part of the conversation. And I have
Mhm,
to really
mhm,
reel myself back, and I can hear
mhm,
myself in my own head going, Sherry, shut up. Sherry,
mhm.
shut up. Somebody else turn to talk. Shut up. So, but
Right.
I keep going. It's like, because some people can't stand the silence.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
So they have to fill in with something
Mhm.
because they can't stand the silence of no conversation.
Do you know that's a counseling skill that we have to learn, is you have to learn to be comfortable with the silence, because sometimes people are taking a very long pause before they start to speak. It's almost like they have to get on that jumping off point before they say something. And we're taught to be comfortable with the silence because sometimes we're interrupting a person and keeping them from speaking. Yeah,
And
that's
if the
that's a
silence
thing.
goes on long enough, then that uncomfortable silence will a lot of times prompt the person that you're
Hmm.
trying to help to keep talking because you're not saying anything back to them. And so
Right.
it's
Exactly.
like they got to fill in that space because they're not
Hmm.
getting a
Hmm.
response back. So,
Yeah. Uh
at least that's what I've always gotten out of it.
huh. Yeah. That I'm trying to read one of the comments.
Tell me to stop and focus on what they're saying. Hi, Linda
Oh,
J. Tone and pitch, yes. There are
uh-huh.
some people's voices, just the way they sound or the way they pronounce words. It's like I can't
Uh-huh.
listen to that.
Uh-huh.
It's like our glorious leader right now.
Uh-huh.
I cannot abide the man's voice anymore
Mhm.
after 4 years of hearing it. It's like, no, I can't. I appreciate when people replay his stuff and
Mhm.
they change his voice to like a little kid's voice or something
Uh-huh.
weird. It's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, now I can listen to it, but I can't listen to his
Mhm.
voice. It
Mhm.
just it
Mhm.
puts all the hackles up on my back, It's like,
Uh-huh.
no, I have to
Uh-huh.
turn it off. I can't listen to that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
E there's an interesting
Bonjour,
thing that
Jonathan.
I've noticed about myself. There's a certain tone in some men voices that is really difficult for me to hear. It's almost like I'm losing my hearing. I don't know what the tone is. It's almost like it's really not really deep, but kind of deep. It's almost like a humming sound. And I have to really focus on like listening to every word because I will miss something. And some words I don't get. I'm just putting it together to hear it. It's something with the tone. I don't know what it is. And there's a
Well, and
couple
on
of
the
people
go ahead,
that
finish up.
that I know when they call me or I'm sitting there talking with them, I have to really focus on it.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Well, and it's just like on the opposite end of that, if you flip it over, there
Mhm.
are some people whose voice and tone is so soothing and so
Mhm.
relaxing that when I listen to them, they
Mhm.
literally will put me to sleep
Mhm.
just because their voice is in that
Yeah.
just right cadence and
Yeah.
tone. And it's like, and I go right out. Marina has that voice.
Uh-huh.
Marina can talk, and she's a beautiful voice, and something about the tone and the way
Uh-huh.
she speaks, and it will just put me out in a New York
Uh-huh.
second. I have to really
Uh-huh.
focus on not falling asleep on her. And it's not because I'm not interested in what she's saying, it's because her voice relaxes me to the point that I'm just, it's like listening to those binaural beat videos on YouTube to go to
Is
sleep
it?
at night.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Uh-huh.
I could just play something of her talking and I'm out. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I don't know
Uh-huh.
why that is. But
Mhm.
and that's I think part of parents with their kids
Mhm.
who are more successful at getting their kids to go to sleep than maybe the other
Mhm.
parent is
Mhm.
because of their voice and how they speak. If they're
Mhm.
reading like the nighttime bed stories or stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
Uh, some kids just it's like they have that reverse reaction to nighttime story
Mhm.
because the voice that's reading it to them hypes them up. Whereas
Mhm.
if the other parent comes in and read it, man, they go out, boom, no time
Mhm.
flat.
Mhm.
Um, my husband and I discovered that when our son was little. If his
Mhm.
daddy went in there to read to him
Mhm.
at bedtime, he would be asleep in no time. But
Uh-huh.
something about my voice, and he just would not go to sleep. So
Uh-huh.
but that's trial and error. That's just
Mhm.
and like I said, it's kind of like flipping it on its head. It's
Mhm.
the opposite
Mhm.
effect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, women with high pitched voices. The ones I can't stand to listen to are the grown women who have the little girl voice. They sound like they're 5 years old when they talk. The pitch, the timbre, the tone. And they can
Mhm.
be highly intelligent women. They know what they're talking about. But there's
Uh-huh.
something about that little girl voice that
Mhm.
just it's like you want to shake him
Mhm.
and say, talk like an adult.
Well,
Speak
I
your
think
age.
it's all about the energy and and I was watching Kim earlier, uh, and she was talking about the feelings we got to, and I was seeing in the chat where people were having issues with like aggressive voices or abusive voices, and I've had that too. And it goes back to paying attention to what you're feeling and and healing what it had, and it admitting to yourself where it what is triggering in you, and feel the feeling and let it go. And I think I got practice in that because I've worked in a residential alcohol and drug treatment. And a lot of, not a lot of the times, but sometimes some of the men would get really assertive or aggressive, and they would yell and stuff like that. And I had one, a
Bye,
supervisor.
baby.
I had a supervisor he would like run right toward them and start asking them questions, and you know, and they would start to calm down. But my thinking was that, okay, they're acting like this, get away from them. And I started practicing just standing there with him and just letting the energy, not holding on
Dissipate.
to the energy,
Yeah.
let it go. Let it go. And then that's the way I started, like starting to be present, because a lot of times when people were doing that, it was like it felt like they were aiming that anger at you, but it was
Yeah.
really their own, I guess, anger or frustration, and they were just saying things, but I was interpreting as it was coming toward me, but it wasn't.
Well, it's just like some, especially with men, some people have a more authoritative voice
Hmm.
than others.
Hmm.
Some people have that softer voice. People kind of feel like they can walk all over
Hmm.
them. And someone else has the kind of voice that when they speak, it's like everybody snaps to attention.
Hmm.
Um, and I find that that's especially true for men with really deep bass voices.
Hmm.
It's like my brother can barely speak above normal speaking range, and it sounds like he's hollering through a bullhorn.
Wow.
He's got that deep bass, booming voice that, if he says your name or hollers something kind of loud, I mean, everybody drops what they're doing, and you're like, what?
Hmm.
It's like snap
Hmm.
to, just because of the kind of voice he has.
Right.
And whereas other people don't have that, they don't.
Hmm.
I mean, and I know we're kind of getting off topic here, talking about the voice as opposed to effective communication, but a voice can have a lot to do with
Yes.
whether or not um, that communication is effective or not.
I think you're right. I think we are, but the thing about it is, if you don't know what's triggering you, we can't change it. We just think it's the other person. But if we're trying to grow, we ask ourselves, well, how can I deal with this? How can I deal with this person the next time? How can I how can I hear this person and not react in the way that I've always reacted? I
Yeah,
really think that's an important part of it, because there are
yeah,
some that I just, in the past, I did not want to even hear them talk, and they would be sitting there, and I'm thinking they're doing it again, and they were just breathing, and but that was my stuff,
yeah.
and
No, I get it. I get it. Yes, exactly. Um, it's like Michelle just brought it up, and I was agreeing with her that
Mhm,
the ones that normally speak normal until they realize they're not going to get their way,
mhm,
and then they kind of shift that voice into more of
mhm,
a babyfied voice, that
mhm, mhm,
that little kid gonna beg and cajole type of
uh-huh,
voice.
mhm,
And yeah, I mean, that irritates me when I hear
mhm,
somebody do that, when I hear them change. James
But
Earl Jones, yeah, he had a voice that was
yeah,
just. Morgan
but
Freeman is
think about it,
another one with
Cher.
a voice.
Think about it. When somebody's doing that, like you were just saying, and you're getting frustrated, your frustration may be telling you this is manipulation. And see, it all goes back. It's telling us something. And
Yeah.
we, and when we,
Whereas they're not. That's not their intention.
and it may not be, but we can, even if we're in relationship with someone like that, we can say, you know, you were just talking normally, but when I was saying no, you started talking differently. What's that about? You know, we may have, it may be helpful to us and the other person. But it's really, to be honest with you, it would be more about me learning about me than to try to teach other people, because I've said to myself, when I think something that another person should be doing, I always think I wasn't sent here to teach other people. I was sent here to learn. And so we have to learn about ourselves, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Linda G.
Uh,
Linda J says empaths can also hear the attitude of the speaker too. Oh yeah.
that's what's such a big difference when you're, as opposed from talking to someone to getting a text message from someone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times people will take a text message in the wrong way
Mm-hmm.
because they're not hearing the inflection of the voice
Mm-hmm.
telling them if this is serious or if I'm just pulling your leg and giving you a hard
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and people that do nothing but talk about themselves, that drives me crazy. It's like, and I'm guilty of doing that too. So, but then I always found that if I can, when someone is asking me for help and they're talking about something,
Mm-hmm.
if I can take what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
and then relate it with me
Mm-hmm.
being able to respond back with, well, I've been through a similar situation or I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced something kind of like that. You know, it's not that I'm trying to get them to talk about me. It's just I'm trying to get them to relate to the fact that you're
Mm-hmm.
not the only one that's gone through this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
other people go through this too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, it's that's something that you kind of figure out as you go along. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, and with a counselor, because and you do it all the time. You know when we're talking, and you'll just go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a part of it. Just a part of it.
And it's something that you're taught to do
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing counseling. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
took classes for that, and that's what they teach you to do because that creates that empty space for the other person to keep talking so
Well,
that they will release more information that you need.
yes.
And
But you know what thing? It can be a bad thing too, because I like I talk to so many people, not just in counseling, but I have so much information that's not really strung together. And I have this thing where I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And sometimes I think people can tell, they'll look at me and they'll say, oh, you know what I mean? And I was like, no. And I'm always doing
it wasn't that kind of
right.
and therein lies the problem with text messages because
Uh-huh.
you can say something in a text message and the other person gets that message and they can blow it all out of proportion because in their head they're hearing you say it this way when
Uh-huh.
you said it that way, and it can cause
Mm-hmm.
difficulties, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I know some people laugh at me because I tend to be very short to the point in a text message or in an
Uh-huh.
email. It's not a lot of, oh, hey, how are you doing today? Da, 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 da. I have to
Mm-hmm.
remind myself to do that because it's being friendly. And these are coworkers. Because I tend to just be like, you know, I'm sending you an email because I don't want to have a 10-minute conversation. So
Right.
this is my point. This is what I want. Do you have it or not? Yes or no? That's all I want to know. And so I have to be careful and remind myself to put at least a sentence or two in there to start out with, saying, "Oh, did you have a nice weekend? How did things go with you and the kids?" And and when that's not why
You're
I'm
just
calling
trying
you,
to
and I don't
keep it
want to talk
moving.
about that. Yeah, yeah. It's like you want to. I'm calling for a reason. Let me get to my point. Tell me the answer, and then we can talk about your family and your weekend.
Yeah, I
But
understand that.
and growing up in the South, I mean
Oh, yeah.
that's just the way of being. Is everybody starts out with how's your
Yeah.
mama, how's your daddy, what's going on
Yeah.
with Joe, how is Mary Sue, what's the baby born yet, and it's like 30 minutes of going through the family tree, and you're like, just answer my question. I just have one question. Answer my question.
I'm laughing, Sherry,
And
because you're telling the truth. That's so true.
because down here we start a conversation out with
Yeah.
how you doing? How was your weekend? What did you think of the snow this week? I mean, I can hear it now when I get to work tomorrow. That's all everybody's going to be talking about, and every conversation is going to start with snow. And so it's like I'm trying to gear myself up for it because
Mhm.
I'll probably be one of the guilty ones that will do that. So
Right.
because I'm
Sherry.
still like stunned by it, and
Right.
yeah,
Sherry, that reminded me of something else. I don't know why I'm remembering all of this stuff, but when I was working in the treatment center and we would have, we had like a male unit and a female unit, but they were not supposed to communicate. We called it fraternizing. They're not supposed to stand and have a conversation. We would say, you can say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, but you can't say how do you do because that's soliciting a, a conversation. So that's what you're like. You're not trying to solicit a conversation. You're just like, hello, where's the box?
I need to talk to whoever. Yeah, are they there? Just answer me yes or no. If they're there, go get them. If they're not, okay, goodbye. And
Right,
I can hang up
right.
the phone. I love Rose, but I just need a cup of sugar, not the whole shopping list.
That's it. That's it.
Exactly, exactly it, exactly it.
That's it.
And
That's
Michelle
funny.
puts down, I reread your emails. They're encouraging and sweet. But that's because I'm specifically writing to you with that in mind. So
Right.
it's not like I'm writing to you saying, did you get A, B, or C finished in time for the deadline? I have a presentation tomorrow. Answer me. That's a different that's a different thing altogether. And it's like, I don't want to go
Oh,
off into some other thing. I
yeah.
don't care about your family right now. Just answer me.
Yeah.
Talk about family later.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's funny. But it
Jonathan said, I had the same thing when I moved to Arizona, Jonathan. I thought everyone
yeah.
was mad at me
Yeah.
because the way they have a conversation, you know,
It
or
it that you but that's all a part of the conversation is learning and I guess it's us being aware, but when you're not aware, you just don't know that
yeah.
people
It's like in
don't
the South. If you're
wave
out
at
in
you.
your yard or if you're sitting on your porch and some stranger drives by, you holler and wave, hey, how you doing today? You don't know them from Adam. They may never have come
Right.
that way before. The first couple of times I did that when I moved to Arizona, people would look at me and go like, "You know them?" I'm like, "No." "Well, why are you hollering and waving at them?" I said, "'Cause it's the polite thing to do." And they just couldn't comprehend the fact that I would do that. It just was like blew their minds. So again, I think
Yeah.
culture has a lot to do with it, where you're
Yes.
raised,
Yes.
what kind of atmosphere you grew up in. Um, so
It's funny, but it's true. I can
anyhow,
relate.
but yeah, I mean, it's hi Patrick. Um,
Hello, Patrick.
like I said, it's important. And this is something I keep trying to teach myself is Not everybody is on the answer immediately and I don't want to hear about anything else mode when I
Right.
call and ask a question. It's like I have to stop and remind myself I'm back home in the South. Everybody has to talk about everything else first before they're going to
Yeah.
get to your question.
Uh-huh.
And so it's learning to reorient yourself, knowing that that conversation is going to start
Mhm.
so that
Uh-huh.
you don't get irritated.
That's it. That's it.
Because when I first moved back home, that was hard to readjust to because I got used
Mhm.
to how it
Mhm.
was out west and they just don't talk that way, you know,
Mm. Well,
unless you're good friends or something with someone, you know, if you're,
mhm.
um, and then it would be a
Well,
little different. Uh,
the promising thing is that change is possible. Once we become
yes,
aware, we can start to change. Mhm. That that
exactly.
that
Yeah,
that's the good thing.
exactly. We
Mhm.
adapt. We will
Mhm.
adapt to our surroundings
Mhm.
and how people behave.
Right.
Um, when my son first entered the Navy, when he first left for boot camp, and it was, I think he said it was like the second day there, and his drill sergeant said to him, "How come you're the only one I got in here that knows how to say yes, sir, and no, sir?" Because that's a hard thing to teach young
Mhm.
people to do if they've never said it regularly
Mhm.
in their
Right.
lives, is how
Right.
to start
Mhm.
or answer any request with yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, whatever.
Mhm.
And Lewis said, I remember just looking at him and saying, because my daddy would have popped me one if I hadn't have said sir. That's just it's the way I was
Uh-huh.
raised, you know.
Right.
Um, and that was very true. His dad was very open minded, but he was also very into good manners.
Mhm.
He would tell our son from the time he was born, he would tell him, "You're a Southern gentleman and you will behave as such." And
Mhm.
I can remember he said that one time, and we had someone at the house, and he was saying that to Lewis, who was like 4 or 5.
Uh-huh.
And he and the other man got up and they went out on the porch for something. And the wife leaned over to me and she says, "What does he mean by Southern gentleman? Is it something I'm missing? Is it just a generalized term? You know, I don't understand." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Because they were from up north. They weren't from down
Uh-huh.
here.
Uh-huh.
And so she's hearing you're a Southern gentleman and you will behave as such. And she's like, what the hell does that even mean? You know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so, you know, and then I had to, of course, explain to her what he meant by that. But
Mhm.
it's, and of course, nowadays, so few young people are taught manners at all. You know,
That's
it's like I can tell how some young people were raised, like at
uh-huh.
work,
Uh-huh.
by how they respond when I come walking up to a door and they're going
Mhm.
in or out the same door. And they will stop and wait for me to hobble my ass over there to hold the door open for me. And I always tell them, thank you, sir, you know, or, you know,
Uh-huh.
it's very
Uh-huh.
kind, sir. And I always say,
Uh-huh.
sir. And
Mhm.
most of them kind of, you literally can see them kind of puff up when
Uh-huh.
I say
Yeah.
sir to them, you know, because
Uh-huh.
it's like I'm acknowledging
Yeah.
that they performed good manners. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm going to call them sir in respect back.
Mhm.
Um, but there are other kids that like they will knock you down to get through the door first, and they don't care if it slams in your face or not. It just they just have no clue.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Uh-huh.
you're in the way, move. You and
Yeah.
your cane are blocking the road. Get out the way. You
Yeah.
know, so you got to learn to. And I've heard some kids that are like that say something to a friend who's with them and be like, "Why'd you open her door?" You know,
Mhm.
or "Why did you hold the door open?" And this friend be like, "Because she's an older lady, and my mom
Mhm.
always said you had to do that," you know, and it's
Uh-huh.
really funny to hear the conversation of one trying to explain to
Uh-huh.
the other why they do what they do. It's like
Uh-huh.
my mama would have popped me what if I hadn't done it, you know?
Right,
So
right.
and um but anyway, so I guess we kind of got off kilter on all that.
Well, well, you
Squirrel.
could say that's what is it? Unspoken communication, and it's we 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 sometimes call it the meta message, the message behind the message, a behavior or a expression. So it all plays a part because you're not going to go up and and be really friendly talking to someone about asking about Aunt Maddie's cousin sister's people if they got a frown on their face.
Okay, I'm gonna take the bait. What's a switch?
Okay. Yeah,
That
Bernie.
is a thin but strong piece of twig or something off of a tree
Yeah,
or
yeah,
a
yes.
bush that you get your behind spanked with. That's
Yeah,
what a switch is because
yeah.
we had to go get them off the fig tree. And to this day, I
Right.
will not eat a fig. And if I see a fig tree, my first inclination is kill it. And so my grandmother would make us go get our own switches off the fig tree and don't bring the wrong kind in. Because if she had to go get one, you got twice the licks.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes maybe even three times the licks, depending on
Yeah,
her mood. So, yes, a switch is to spank your butt with.
yeah, yeah. Good.
Um,
I know what a switch is.
oh, Patrick sent me something. Thank you.
Okay.
Getting an Amazon delivery today.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Thank you very kindly. I will show it
I'm
off when it
penetrating, y'all.
I
Yeah,
mean, I may be a Yankee, but I was raised to say please and thank you.
yeah.
You know, and it's like down here, you didn't call adults by their first name.
Mhm,
It was always Miss or Mister in front of their name or aunt or uncle. If
mhm.
it was like a close friend of the family, it was Uncle
Uh-huh.
Isaac. Go tell Uncle Isaac to come in
Mhm,
dinner stuff, you
mhm.
know, or
Right.
go get Aunt Sherry, tell her da 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 da. Da.
Yeah. Mhm,
If it wasn't somebody close friends with the family, and it didn't matter if you're related or not, that had nothing
mhm,
to do with it. If you're not
mhm.
close friends with the family, then it was always you prefaced everyone's first name with a Miss or a Mister.
Yep.
You know, go ask
Mhm.
Mr. Isaac to give you the key to the mailbox,
Right.
you know, or
Right.
whatever.
Mhm,
I mean, and that's how we were raised. And I'll never
mhm.
forget. Somebody called my mother from I don't know what, trying to sell her something on the phone, and she was, you know, she answered the phone, and this person goes right into talking about something. And when they finally stopped to get her response, and she said, "Well, first things first." She says, "I don't know you, and you don't know me, and you don't address me by my first name without permission. You address me by Ms. Miller, as that is my name until we are friends." And
Uh-huh.
I mean, she just, and she never raised her voice. She never got ugly, but my mother had this tone that she
Mhm,
could flip that switch on.
mhm.
And when that tone came out, it was like, oh, mama means business.
Right.
So this is scary mama coming out. You
Mhm,
don't argue. Just yes, ma'am. That's all you said. You just got out of the way.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that's the tone of voice she was using with him on the phone. And I
mhm.
could hear the young guy through the other end apologizing profusely. You know, they tell us to use first names and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well,
Right.
you need to tell your bosses that that's wrong. When they
Right.
call Southern women, they're to address them as Ms. Whoever, whatever the
Mhm,
name is,
mhm,
because otherwise it's insulting. So, and she's
mhm.
like, and that's all I have to say about it. Click. And she hung up the phone. And I was just sitting there listening to her thinking, damn, mama got a little hot under the collar there.
Uh-huh.
But Wooden spoon. Yeah, my grandmother would use that too.
Mm-hmm.
Wooden spoon, metal spoon, spatula, fly swatter, switch, belt, whatever was within reach. That's what she would use to spank our butts with. And she
Mm-hmm.
would leave welts from your ankles all the way up to your shoulder blades. Because
Wow.
she would hold you by one arm and let you run, and she would just pivot with you while she's switching you with that switch or that belt or whatever. And so wherever it landed, and it was your damn fault because you moved. So
She had a technique for
he had a
switching.
technique down, let me tell you. Um, yeah, my grandmother didn't cotton to none of that. So,
That's funny.
but anyhow, oh,
Mm.
Michelle's making guacamole.
Oh, that sounds good.
The mama look was the scariest thing. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Your mother could give you that look and you would feel your bones melt.
Mm-hmm.
That was very effective communication
Mm-hmm.
because the mama has that look that she can give. My son is 40 something years old. And if he really makes me angry, I can give him one look and he's immediately apologizing. He doesn't know what
Mm-hmm.
for. He doesn't know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad at him about. He sees that look and he knows I'm in trouble. And he
Uh-huh.
starts apologizing immediately. And sometimes I'll say, "What are you apologizing for?" "I don't know, but you're pissed off, so I must have done something wrong."
Uh-huh.
It's, and it's that mama look, it's
Uh-huh.
it's it's in the DNA, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But dads have that too. Dads
I,
can get that scary look, but
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's on a different level than a
It's
mama look.
different. It's
And
different. A mama look is more or less straighten up, fall in line, I think. And the daddy look is, uh-oh.
yeah, I feel like if daddy got called into it, you were really
Yeah.
in trouble then. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
if you got to the point where mama was like, I have had enough, wait till your daddy gets home. I mean, I heard many of my friends go into panic mode when their mothers would say that to them, and I'd be like, I got to go home now. Because it was like, I'm not sticking around for this. Yeah, I might get hit the crossfire. So, like
Could
I'm getting
could
the
you
hell out of
highlight
Dodge.
could you highlight Maureen's comment about the
The evil
bad
eye?
habit? No, bad habit, rolling my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a she doesn't have a poker face. I don't have a poker face. Even I don't even
I don't
try.
either.
Even when I'm in counseling, people talk about the blank slate. I'm like, what? Huh? uh,
Guilty.
I, I have the same thing, Maureen. It's like if it's gonna show on my face, it's gonna show. And where I used to work, the lady that was in the cafeteria, and they cooked really good. And she was like, "You want some of this?" And I go, and after about the third time I did that, she said, "You need to fix your face." She said, why you gotta say it
Before
like
it
that?
freezes like that.
Right. It wasn't like I thought it was bad or anything. It's like I didn't. I think I was just saying no in my own way. But I, especially if it's about food, I just say no,
Yep.
thank you. I don't even. I don't do no. I don't make an expression.
Washing your mouth out with soap.
Yeah.
Yeah, many a
Yeah.
time I've had my mouth
Yeah.
washed out with soap because I let certain words come out that I shouldn't say in front of adults. Um,
Uh-huh.
or this one here that they said all three of your names. Oh yeah, when I would hear Sherry Lynn Miller, because that was my name, I knew in that moment I was in deep doo doo.
Mhm.
And yeah, when you hear all of your just like, my son's like, I know I'm in trouble when you use all three of my names. And I think that's a given across, it doesn't matter where you grow up. I know people
Right.
from other countries that they're like, oh yeah, if your parent says all three of your names, you're in for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you were in trouble. And but and it's all about respect. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
Popping somebody's belt. I can remember my granddaddy never laid a hand on us ever, but he would take off his belt and double it and then pop it.
Uh-huh.
You know where you push it
Yeah.
together in the
I know
belt,
what you're
like
talking about.
it's like this, and then you
It
pull it
makes a
together and
sound.
it'll make that
Makes
pop sound.
Yeah.
You heard that, you knew
Mhm.
you done stepped over the line. Next step, and that's on your behind. So,
Uh-huh.
um, but my granddaddy never spanked us that I can remember.
Mhm.
He would make the popping sound with the belt, and that was enough to stop us in our tracks.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't go any further because
Uh-huh.
we never took him up on actually spanking us,
Uh-huh.
but we knew it was possible. And my mother never spanked us either.
Mhm.
She would do like she'd punch a hole in the wall and then say, "Next time that you're hit." Or
Wow.
she did that to me once when I was about 13, and it scared the hell out of
Mhm.
me because
Mhm.
I just remember looking at the hole in the wall where she just punched it. She was so
Uh-huh.
mad at me, and then she just, "Next time that's your head," and I'm thinking, I didn't know if she meant it was going to be my head through the wall or a hole
Right.
in my head, and I didn't want to find out. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, she would do psychological crap to us. And we'd punish ourselves just because we wanted her to calm down.
Uh-huh.
If she really had enough, she would just grab her purse and her keys and head for the door, and we'd be like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "Crazy. You want to come with me?" And she would leave. She would go get in her car and she'd go driving around the block for about 5 or 10 minutes so that when she
Really?
came back home, she didn't kill us because we had pushed her to the limit. So, um, over the years, she developed a very acute sense of tuning out what she didn't want to hear. You could be right next to her talking to her, and if she decided she was tuning you out, she never heard a word. She was reading that book. That's what I
Really?
mean. That was it. There was just no getting around it. Hey, Kiba.
I'm gonna
Um,
Hi, Kiba. I'm gonna answer a question. It, the child rearing thing, I don't
yeah,
I only deal with students and I
you're at a
guess if
university now, so
right, right. But now I'm just I'm not good with children because I don't I'm too um what do I want to say? I would let them get away with too much. It's like I don't see them doing anything wrong. I, I don't I but the young people that I work with, they're very well mannered. They are uh it's like I I have to go looking for something that's not good in somebody. I always can manage to see the good in them and help them
yeah,
see the good in themselves, but I don't I I don't deal with children. I purposely did not want to. I did at one time. I worked at a middle school, but it was just a part of
gosh.
getting the job because I told the lady who was hiring me, I was like, I don't think I'd like that. And she said, well, that's all we got. And I was like, maybe I could do it. That was my
I'll
first
give it a
job.
shot. We'll see what
That's
happens.
it.
Um, I
That's my
love
good
what
excuse.
old Windwalker says, and that's a new name. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hmm. Yeah.
He's like, that was a good way to find out what all three of the kids' name was. What did they call you when they're mad at you? Because most kids, if you ask them what's all your full name, they just know their first name, maybe their last name, but that's it.
Uh-huh.
But you ask them, well, what do they say when they're mad at you? They give you their whole name. every name in the book, So
That's funny.
that was actually really smart. Um,
Yeah.
somebody knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Marina. That's why Gen Xers are tough. We were raised by parents who had parents that didn't play around with being disrespectful.
Uh-huh.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm at the tail end of the boomers, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm like within the last 5 years. I think the year my brother was born was the first year of Gen X,
Okay.
and I was at the tail end of the baby boomers. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah. I'm a boomer.
but yeah, I'm a
I've been
boomer. He's a boomer. We're a boomer too.
when you like to be a boomer. That's
Well, you
funny,
like to be
Sherry.
a boomer too. There you go.
I
Oh
love
my
it. I
God.
love it. I love it. I've for some reason I've had I don't know what it is. I don't know if some type of shift or what, but I've gotten all of this not energy and it's like a shift in my mindset. It's like, did I tell you I was cleaning out my shed and
Yeah.
that I had, and I'm like building things for the tools and all of this, and it's like it's been sitting there for like I guarantee you a 4 years. And I was just throwing stuff in there, and I'd go in and I'd dig to find stuff, or if I couldn't find it, I'd buy it new. But all of a sudden, it's like it
Guilty.
just feels right, like I can do this. And
It's time to
I'm,
purge. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's yeah. I didn't have words for it, Sherry. I'm like, well, why is this so easy to do
Yeah.
now? And I think it is because I'm letting go, just letting go.
Yeah. I go through phases of it where it's like
Mhm.
I'm ready to purge and let go of stuff. And
Mhm.
and but it's hard because especially if it's something that you've like collected over the years or something you've held on
Mhm.
to for a long time for sentimental reasons.
Mhm.
Um, it can be difficult
Mhm.
to just let that go,
Mhm.
just be done with it.
Astrological tarot. You were asking if there's anything that are issues around technology. The one issue that I see with the young people that I work with, a few of them will say somebody said something or did something. They say, I just blocked them. And I just love it. It's like it's like that's a hard
We
boundary.
couldn't do that.
No,
Blocking
we would
somebody
have
meant
to
you had to punch them in the face. I mean, that was
right, or you had to explain it or whatever. They said I just blocked them. I said, oh, okay. But that's what I see. I think the thing with technology is we're all still learning it, and we have to figure out how we want to deal with it because some of us think that in order to deal with it, we have to not use it. But
yeah,
that's not an issue. That's a non-issue. We're using it whether we want to or not. I mean, like
right.
I've watched a movie recently, and it was a British series, and they were talking about they were seeing the people on the CTV cameras, and in Britain they have cameras everywhere, especially in
Everywhere.
London,
Yeah,
but they also do it in China. But we have to realize we do it here too.
yeah,
But we have the concept of privacy, so we can't tell anybody, and they think of it differently, and it's like
nothing
because
is funnier than watching a CCTV roll of people
uh-huh,
walking into poles or walking into other people because they got their head down looking at their
right,
phone while they're walking.
uh-huh, mm-hmm,
Falling into a manhole. I've seen some of those.
right,
Walk
right,
into a water fountain, like a
mm-hmm,
big water fountain. And
mm-hmm.
it's funny.
Well,
We laugh, but,
right.
it's
They
because we
they
get.
don't. I don't think they have any guidelines around it or anything like that. Like texting when driving. Some people
I think
they'll
that's
be
the
on a
only thing
freeway.
that's got a law on it now is
Uh-huh.
texting when driving.
But
I
people still
know.
do it. I can pass a
Yeah,
person over and and see the light shining in their face and stuff like that.
yeah. It's like if I'm at a light, I will glance at my phone if it's been
Mhm.
beeping or something to see
Mhm.
either who's calling me or who's texting me. Is this
Mhm.
important enough that I need to pull over and make a phone call, or do I ignore it, just keep going? But I won't. I don't even. I usually leave my phone in my purse
Mhm.
and don't even have it out when I'm driving.
Mhm.
Uh, I know in Arizona they passed the law that it was illegal to text and drive when a 16-year-old
Mhm.
ran headlong into an 18-wheeler
Wow.
because she was busy texting and not paying attention to where she was driving.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And there were plenty of witnesses as well as cameras that caught it. She
Mhm.
drove right into that truck, just wham, you know.
Mhm.
And you could see with the camera angles that she had her head down. You could tell she was texting. She
Mhm.
was doing something
Right.
on her
Right.
phone and not looking where she was going. And so
Mhm.
yeah, I mean that's we're still developing the rules, I think, around
Uh-huh. We are.
digital communication
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's just so different
Mhm.
than
It is.
the other.
It's just, everything is new. When something new comes along, we have to acclimate to it. We have to decide how we want to use it, everything like that. Because whenever we tried to, um, we look to, I guess, agencies, the government to tell us how, we better wind down.
Yeah, Arthur just called me. He's probably saying, "Where are you?"
Okay, we got to go. See you later. Bye.
Thank y'all for being here. Um, this was a good conversation. I hate to cut it off, but he's already screaming at me on my phone. So, um, I will see everybody soon. Isaac will be back in 2 weeks,
Yes.
where our next topic will be adult child estrangement,
Oh, okay.
or at least that's
Mm.
what I wrote down. So,
That's what I
um,
got, Sherry. What day is that?
that will be February 9th.
Okay.
Uh, need, um, all right. He's panicking. So, thank y'all for coming.
Okay. All right.
Y'all have a great day. And Isaac and I will get together and work out next show and we'll let y'all know
Yeah.
what's coming up.
Yeah.
And y'all have a wonderful week, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good one. Think positive.
Yes.
Bye for now.